Imagine waking up in a city where the air chokes you, the streets are buried in trash, and the buildings feel like they're closing in on you. What if the place you call home looks like it's straight out of a dystopian nightmare? Today, we're diving into the top 20 urban hells on earth cities and places where life feels more like survival. These are real places, not movie sets, where people face pollution, overcrowding, crime, and decay every single day. Can you guess which cities made this list? Stick around, because some of these will shock you, and you'll want to know if your city is one of them. Kicking off our list at number 20 is Gary, Indiana, a perfect example of the American dream gone wrong. This place used to be a powerhouse, a booming steel town that was the heart of American industry. But when the steel jobs disappeared, the city's pulse just stopped. It's like the whole town was built for a party that ended decades ago, and no one stuck around to clean up. Today, large parts of Gary are a ghost town, with nearly a third of its buildings sitting empty. We're talking about streets lined with boarded up homes and massive silent factories that look like rusty skeletons. So what's it actually like to be there now? Well, it's pretty grim. With so few jobs, nearly 40% of the population lives in poverty, and the city has one of the highest crime rates in the country. It's the kind of place where you feel the history, but it's a heavy, sad history. The silence on some of those empty streets is genuinely eerie, and you get the feeling that the whole city has been forgotten by the rest of the world. It's a chilling reminder of how quickly a booming city can fall apart, and honestly, we're just getting started on this list. Alright, coming in at number 19 is a city whose name has become almost a synonym for danger in America, Camden, New Jersey. For decades, this city right across the river from Philadelphia has been known for having one of the highest crime rates in the nation. We're talking about a place where some neighborhoods have been described as war zones, with dilapidated houses lining the streets and drug deals happening in the middle of the day. It's the kind of environment where you're constantly looking over your shoulder, and the feeling of safety that most people take for granted is just not there. But the daily struggle in Camden goes beyond just crime. The city's foundation is crumbling, both literally and economically. Over a third of the residents live in poverty, with very few job opportunities to go around. On top of that, the infrastructure is failing, leading to basic problems you wouldn't expect in a modern American city, like issues with getting clean water. It really makes you ask, can you imagine trying to raise a family where safety feels like a luxury? It's a harsh, daily reality for thousands, but it's also a place where a strong community continues to fight hard to rebuild and reclaim their city. Coming in at number 18 on our list is Port-au-Prince, Haiti, a city that feels like it's been punched in the gut by one disaster after another. Imagine a capital city that's just a chaotic mess of too many people crammed into a space that's been repeatedly hammered by earthquakes, hurricanes, and just plain old political chaos. The result? You've got sprawling shanty towns clinging to hillsides like they're desperately trying not to slide into the sea. Think about this. Over 60% of the people living in Port-au-Prince are in slums. That means no running water, no electricity, just basic needs that are luxuries. And the streets? Piled high with trash, with open sewers, making it a breeding ground for disease. Every single day feels like you're rolling the dice with survival. It really makes you wonder how anyone keeps going in a city that's been pushed so far to the edge. But believe it or not, as tough as it is, there's still a pulse in this city. Ready to see what could possibly be worse? Let's keep this grim show on the road. Alright, for number 17, we're heading to Lagos, Nigeria, a city that perfectly answers the question, what happens when a city grows faster than it can possibly handle? Lagos is one of the fastest growing megacities on the planet, with over 17 million people packed into a space that feels like it's about to burst. The result is pure chaos. The traffic isn't just bad, it's legendary. You can be stuck in a jam for hours, not even moving. The air is thick with smog from the constant hum of generators needed for power, and the whole city operates in a state of constant, high-energy hustle. But to really understand Lagos, you have to look at how people are forced to adapt. In slums like Makoko, entire neighborhoods are built on stilts over a polluted lagoon simply because there's no space left on land. Basic services are a daily struggle. Clean water is so scarce that it's common for people to buy it in small plastic bags just to have something to drink. So, can you picture living in a floating slum with no sanitation and nowhere else to go? For hundreds of thousands of people, that's just normal life. It's a city of incredible resilience, but also a perfect storm of urban problems. For number 16, we're landing in Karachi, Pakistan, a massive port city that shows what happens when a city is literally drowning in its own chaos. With over 15 million people, its basic systems are completely overloaded and broken. Daily life is a constant battle for things we take for granted. Power outages can last for hours, plunging huge parts of the city into darkness. Clean water is so scarce that many people are forced to buy it from illegal tanker mafias who control the supply. The city is choking on its own trash and pollution, with air quality so bad that just breathing is like smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. On top of this systemic collapse, there's the constant threat of violence. Crime in Karachi is rampant, and in some neighborhoods, gang violence and kidnappings are so common that they've become no-go zones, even for police. It's a place where the simple act of leaving your house comes with a real risk. Just try to imagine stepping outside and genuinely not knowing if you'll make it home safely at the end of the day. It's an extreme level of daily uncertainty, and a stark look at a city pushed to its absolute limit. Next up at number 15 is a city that's a legend for all the wrong reasons, Detroit, Michigan. Once the booming heart of the American auto industry, the Motor City is now a textbook example of urban decay. Decades of decline left entire neighborhoods looking like ghost towns, with thousands of crumbling, abandoned homes and factories. Imagine driving down streets where the lights don't work and the only thing you hear is the wind blowing through shattered windows. It's a haunting picture of what happens when a city's main industry dies and takes the soul of the city with it. This isn't just about empty buildings, it's about the people left behind to navigate the ruins. The crime rate remains one of the highest in the country, and nearly a third of the residents live in poverty. For many, daily life is a struggle in a city that feels like it was forgotten, but it's important to say that Detroit is fighting back. There are pockets of revival and a ton of pride in the city, but it's a long, tough road to recovery from a collapse this massive. At number 14, we're looking at Kinshasa in the Democratic Republic of Congo, a city that shows what happens when a population explodes without any kind of plan. This place is massive, with over 17 million people, but its infrastructure is completely overwhelmed and stuck in the past. The roads, the power grid, and the water systems were never designed to handle this many people, and it shows. The city's markets are gridlocked with traffic, and the streets are choked with trash that piles up way faster than it can ever be collected. This isn't just an inconvenience. For the vast majority of residents, it makes life a daily battle for survival. Most people live in huge, sprawling slums where things like electricity are a rare luxury, and getting clean water is basically a dream. On top of all that, political instability and violence add a layer of constant danger to the daily struggle. Can you even imagine living in a city where every single basic need is a fight? That's the tough reality in Kinshasa. Stick with me for number 13, it's a place you won't believe. Coming in at number 13 is a city that defines the word overcrowded, Dhaka, Bangladesh. This place is one of the most densely populated spots on the entire planet, with over 20 million people crammed into an incredibly small area. The result is pure unfiltered chaos. The streets are a never-ending flood of rickshaws, cars, and people, all fighting for the same sliver of space. Traffic jams aren't just an inconvenience here, they are a way of life, with people getting stuck for hours just to move a few miles. The entire city feels like it's bursting at the seams and suffocating under its own weight. But the sheer number of people has created another, more toxic problem: pollution. The rivers flowing through Dhaka are not just dirty, they are black, poisoned by the 9.7 million tons of waste dumped into them every single year. The air is just as bad. It's often so thick with smog and pollutants that experts have compared breathing it to living inside a gas chamber. Just think about that for a second. Can you picture living in a city where the very air you breathe feels like an enemy? It's a harsh, suffocating reality for millions. For number 12, we're diving into Manila in the Philippines, a mega city that is completely overwhelmed by its own explosive growth. The metro area is packed with over 13 million people, and the city's infrastructure just can't handle it. This is most obvious in the sprawling slums like Tondo, where thousands of people live in makeshift shacks packed right up against massive garbage dumps. On top of the crowding, flooding is a constant and dangerous reality. When the monsoon season hits, entire streets disappear underwater, turning into murky, disease-filled rivers that sweep through homes. The daily struggle isn't just about staying dry, it's about staying healthy. The air pollution in Manila is so severe that it's common for children to grow up with chronic respiratory problems. The water is polluted, the air is toxic, and for many, home is next to a literal mountain of trash. Can you imagine trying to raise a family in a place like that with no real way to escape? It's an incredibly tough existence that shows the extreme human cost of unplanned urban growth. The next one will make your jaw drop. Coming in at number 11, we're taking a deep, dirty breath in what has been called one of the most polluted cities on Earth, Linfen, China. For years, this city was the heart of China's coal industry, and the price of that industry was the health of the city itself. The air here is often so thick with coal dust and chemical smog that residents go days without seeing the sun, living under a permanent gray haze. It's an environment where the pollution isn't just in the background, it's a constant, suffocating presence that covers everything in a layer of black dust. Living in these conditions has had devastating effects on the people of Linfen. Respiratory diseases are extremely common, and the industrial waste has poisoned the local rivers, contaminating the water supply. Imagine waking up every single morning, looking outside at a toxic fog, and knowing that the very air you're breathing is slowly making you sick. How would you even begin to cope in a city where clean air is just a distant memory? It's a grim reality that shows the extreme environmental cost of industrial growth. Let's move on to number 10. It's a place that feels like a sci-fi nightmare. At number 10, we're diving into a true concrete jungle, a city that proves a place can definitely be too big for its own good, São Paulo, Brazil. This city is a sprawling, endless sea of high-rises, home to more than 12 million people. The sheer scale of it is hard to wrap your head around. But with that massive size comes massive problems, and the most famous one is the traffic. Gridlock is a permanent state of being here, with cars stuck for hours on end. The problem is so legendary that the city's wealthy elite have just given up on roads entirely, using a fleet of helicopters to hop from skyscraper to skyscraper. This creates a shocking and visible divide. While the rich literally fly over the city's problems, millions of others are stuck down below, dealing with the chaos. On the edges of this concrete ocean, you'll find sprawling slums, known as favelas, where poverty is severe and crime is a part of daily life. It's a city of extreme contrasts. So, can you imagine living in a place where the rich soar above the chaos while everyone else is just stuck at ground level? It's a dizzying reality of life in one of the world's biggest cities. For number 9, we're visiting a city with a problem you'd expect to see in a disaster movie, Jakarta, Indonesia. The issue here isn't just crime or pollution, it's that the city is literally sinking. Because of the massive overuse of groundwater, large parts of Jakarta are going underwater, sinking as much as 10 inches in a single year. This means that flooding isn't just a seasonal problem, it's a constant reality, with major roads regularly turning into murky canals. For the 10 million people who live here, this sinking ground, combined with suffocating traffic jams, makes daily life a chaotic struggle against the city itself. On top of the constant threat of being submerged, the air is just as dangerous. The air pollution is so bad that it's blamed for thousands of early deaths every year. This is especially true in the slums crowded along the riverbanks, where the poorest residents live in a toxic mix of garbage, sewage, and polluted floodwaters. It's a full-blown environmental crisis. Can you even wrap your head around living in a city where the very ground beneath your feet is giving up? It's a terrifying reality. Number 8 is even more intense. Stay with me. At number 8, we're in a city where thousands of years of history smash right into modern-day chaos. Cairo, Egypt. It's a place of incredible contrasts, where the ancient pyramids stand silently, looking over a sprawling, frantic city of over 20 million people. The sheer density is overwhelming. The infrastructure is completely swamped, leading to some of the worst traffic you can possibly imagine. The sound of Cairo isn't music or conversation, it's a never-ending concert of blaring car horns that goes on 24/7. It's a city that feels both ancient and on the verge of collapsing at the same time. This constant pressure has led to a major breakdown in the environment and living conditions. The air pollution is so thick and heavy, it often feels like you're breathing smoke, and the legendary Nile River, the city's lifeblood for millennia, is now choked with waste. Millions of residents are packed into informal slums with no reliable access to basic services like clean water or sanitation. Imagine living right next to the wonders of the ancient world, but your daily reality is one of noise, pollution, and decay. It's a stark picture of a city struggling to carry the weight of its own history. For number 7, we're heading deep into the Arctic Circle to a place that's being left to freeze and rot, Vorkuta, Russia. This city has a dark history. It was originally built by prisoners of the Soviet gulags. After the camps closed, it became a coal mining town, but now the mines are shutting down too. The city is in a state of collapse. The population has crashed from over 200,000 to less than 50,000, leaving entire neighborhoods abandoned. These empty, crumbling apartment blocks, half buried in snow, make it look like a post-apocalyptic movie set where the temperature drops to a bone-shattering 40 Fahrenheit. For the few thousand people still living there, life is a battle against isolation and hopelessness. With no jobs and a bleak future, they are trapped in a slowly dying city. Imagine living in a place where your biggest enemies aren't people, but the crushing cold and the overwhelming emptiness of the abandoned streets around you. It's a city where the past is grim and the future is a frozen question mark. Can you feel the chill just thinking about it? Number 6 is a place that's hard to believe exists. Next on our list at number 6, we have a city built around a feature that could literally swallow it whole, Mirny, Russia. The entire reason this town exists is to serve the Mir diamond mine, which isn't just a mine, it's a terrifying, gaping hole in the earth, over 1,700 feet deep and nearly a mile wide. This pit is so massive that it creates its own weather, with dangerous air currents that are said to be able to suck helicopters right out of the sky. The entire city is perched on the edge of this man-made abyss. Living in Mirny means waking up every day in a landscape dominated by this colossal void. The town itself is a collection of decaying Soviet-era apartment blocks slowly crumbling in the brutal Siberian cold. But the real challenge is the psychological one, the feeling of teetering on the edge of nothingness. It's a city whose sole purpose is tied to the giant hole next to it, creating a constant, unnerving sense of instability. So, would you ever feel safe living in a place like this? Let's move on to number 5. It's a real shocker. For number 5, we're heading to a city that's often described as a modern-day battlefield, Port Moresby in Papua New Guinea. This place has a worldwide reputation for violent crime, and for good reason. Large parts of the city are controlled by gangs known as rascals, who are notorious for their brutality. Law and order feel more like a suggestion than a rule in many areas, and the constant threat of carjackings, robberies, and assaults makes personal safety the #1 concern for everyone who lives there. The root of this chaos is extreme poverty and a lack of opportunity. Unemployment is incredibly high, and more than half the city's population lives in sprawling slums without basics like electricity or clean running water. The streets are often neglected and littered with trash, mirroring the sense of decay. Imagine the constant stress of walking home, genuinely not knowing if you're going to make it safely. It's a city where survival is a daily achievement, making you wonder how people manage to find any hope at all. The next one will leave you speechless. At number 4, we have a city that, from a distance, looks like a glittering paradise, but up close can be a suffocating pressure cooker: Hong Kong. This is a case of a city being almost too successful for its own good. It's a dazzling global center for finance, packed with over 7 million people, but that success has created one of the most densely populated places on Earth. The skyline is a forest of skyscrapers so tightly packed that they literally block out the sun in some neighborhoods, creating a feeling of being trapped in a concrete canyon. This extreme density and the sky-high cost of living have created a shocking reality for the city's poorest residents. Thousands are forced to live in what are known as coffin homes, tiny cage-like boxes, some as small as just 15 square feet. Imagine your entire home, your entire life, having to fit into a space smaller than a parking spot, where you can't even fully stand up. It's the dark side of a wealthy city, a constant, claustrophobic struggle for space and survival. Could you handle that kind of pressure? Let's see what's at number 3. It's a place that's falling apart. For number 3, we're in a city that is a true casualty of war, a place where ancient beauty is being erased by modern conflict: Sana'a, Yemen. This is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, filled with stunning historic architecture, but years of brutal conflict have turned it into a ruin. Airstrikes have left beautiful, ancient buildings crumbling into dust, and the streets are often impassable, choked with rubble. It's the heartbreaking sight of a World Heritage Site being systematically destroyed. The destruction of the city has led to an even worse humanitarian catastrophe. Life for the people of Sana'a is a constant struggle for the most basic necessities. The water shortage is so severe that many families only get running water once or twice a month. With the economy shattered, over 80% of the population now depends on humanitarian aid just to get enough food to survive. Imagine living in a constant state of crisis, where your main focus every single day is just finding water and your next meal. How do you keep going when hope itself feels so far away? Number 2 is even more heartbreaking. Coming in at the number 2 spot is a city that has endured almost unimaginable levels of conflict and chaos: Kabul, Afghanistan. For decades, this city has been at the center of war, and it shows. The streets and the people bear the scars of countless bombings and waves of violence. For the more than 4 million people living here, the threat of an explosion isn't a shocking event. For long periods, it has been a terrifyingly normal part of daily life. It's a city where a sense of stability has been shattered again and again, leaving behind an atmosphere of constant tension. This unending conflict has destroyed any chance for a normal life for millions. Poverty is rampant, forcing huge numbers of people into makeshift shelters and refugee camps within their own city. Basic services that the rest of the world takes for granted, like a steady supply of electricity, are completely unreliable. The air is heavy with dust from the dry landscape and pollution from burning fuel, adding a physical grit to the already difficult existence. You have to ask, how do families even begin to hold on and find a future in a place like this? We're almost at number 1. Can you guess what it is? And here we are at number 1. The top spot on our list of urban hells goes to a city where the danger isn't from crime or chaos, but from the very ground itself: Dzerzhinsk, Russia. This place was a secret, closed-off city during the Soviet era, serving as a primary site for chemical weapons production. The work has stopped, but the poison remains. Decades of dumping toxic waste have left the soil and the water saturated with some of the deadliest chemicals ever made. There's a constant chemical stench in the air, a permanent reminder of the city's toxic legacy. This isn't just an environmental problem, it's a human catastrophe. The consequences of living in such a polluted place are horrifying. The life expectancy in Dzerzhinsk is just 47 years old. Let that sink in. That's decades below the global average. Cancer rates and other serious illnesses are off the charts. Imagine trying to raise children in a city where the playgrounds are poisoned and the water is a threat. It's a place where the environment feels like it's actively trying to kill its own residents. This is the ultimate urban hell. So, that's our tour through 20 of the toughest cities on the planet. It's a heavy topic, but it's a reality for millions of people. What did you think? Which of these places shocked you the most? Let me know down in the comments. I'm genuinely curious to hear your thoughts. If you found this journey fascinating, do me a favor and hit that like button. It really helps out the channel. And if you want more deep dives into some of the most intense places on Earth, make sure you subscribe and ring that notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching, and stay safe out there.